You are listening to WPHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk radio.
Welcome back to the final segment of Fate Radio. I'm Kat Hobson, your host, with my guest Butch Witkowski, and we are talking all things ufology, spiritual paranormal, Bigfoot. All the paranormals are here tonight, and Butch is the guy who has a lot of answers, but we have a question in chat, and this is from Denise, and she would like to know what NASA calls UFOs since they are not unidentified. She believes it's EDE, but can't recall.
When NASA uses two terms. Slow walker is a satellite.
Oh.
A fast walker is an unidentified flying object.
Okay.
And they've been using those for many years.
That's interesting. You know, something that blew me away when I was, this was at AlienCon. There is a NASA physicist who does all things Mars. He got to drive the Mars rover that they're going to be sending up. Test driving it out bogging in Texas somewhere. And he's just fascinating. He's brilliant. He's charming. He's one of the most intelligent people that I've heard lecture at any of these places. But he draws a check from NASA, and he is on Ancient Aliens. Conflict of interest much, maybe?
I would think.
Or not so much. I got in trouble. Well, I didn't really get in trouble, but I took him aback because he was doing a panel. His name's Travis. He's a wonderful person. I got a chance to talk to him some. And I said, so why does NASA let you do this? And he looked at me, and there were two other physicists on that panel, and then Mike Barra, Mr. Conspiracy himself. But it was so funny because everyone just kind of looked at me. I said, well, either you are aiding in disclosure or your disinformation. That's the only two options. So right. Why are you here? Why do they let you be here? And I did not really get an answer. Not a satisfactory to me answer anyway. It was kind of like, well, they don't mind me being here. It's just sharing information. And the guy works on everything. He was talking about with the teleporting, like the Star Trek Beam Me Up, that they've actually moved, basically salt. They've actually transported monocellular items. This is really happening already. And I'm like, well, talk to me about a warp drive because I believe we have one. And he said, well, that's a whole different lecture. And I did go to his solo lecture. He's brilliant. But it just struck me as so odd that NASA has that guy that is actually drawing a check from them and on Ancient Aliens. He was part of that Tesla show that they did, the Ancient Aliens show that was the Tesla special.
And everybody said Tesla was a crackpot.
Well, not so much of a crackpot that they didn't want to get their hands on his information before anybody else could.
That's a fact.
So, pretty interesting, right?
Oh, yeah.
I love that stuff. That's why this...
Anything Tesla catches my eye. I got to read it.
Well, when I was in Manhattan, I was over near the United Nations somewhere that way. And I was walking down the street and there was a Tesla Way sign. And I was like, oh. So I popped a picture of that and shot it down to Frank and said, there you go, I found your street. And all the world, there's your street. Because, people like us, we get into that. You love it, I love it, just about everyone I know loves it. That does, what we do with that intensity. So it's funny because people are always so surprised when they find out that I actually do research and I actually do investigate and stuff. You know it, but not everybody does. And it's fun to watch their faces.
Well, most people that do radio shows are not researchers. I was listening to a guy for, I guess, 2 or 3 times while we were traveling, going out of state on a case, and he was on Midnight in the Desert, and I'm thinking, like, who is this guy, right?
Right.
And when we got to where we were going, I looked him up on the computer in the truck, and I'm like, oh, okay. He's read books. That's where he gets his information. He's read books.
Well, that makes you an expert, right?
Well, I'm in big trouble because I got like 3 or 4 books on the Three Stooges.
That's
unbelievable.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well,
he read books.
Denise said that her cousin, who's an astronaut, calls those identified objects a different name.
Well, these are terms that NASA put out a long time ago,
mm-hmm.
and it made sense to a lot of people because if something is moving slow across the sky and there's a line of 4 or 5 of them, they're moving slowly, so they're satellites.
Right.
They're stationary orbits, so they call them slow walkers. And then, the stuff that shoots from horizon to horizon in less than a second, that's, they call those fast walkers. But I know that there are other terms used by the astronauts and by the space station crew. They have different terms.
Mm-hmm.
But the original NASA was slow walkers and fast walkers. Matter of fact, I pretty much think, I know that there's a video out there that was done and done pretty well with a lot of pretty famous researchers in it and witnesses. That's called fast walkers.
Right.
And you can get that. I think you can still get that on eBay probably.
Well, I know that they are unidentified aerial phenomena
Mm-hmm.
is for the unidentified objects, but I don't know a term for the identified ones other than jet or,
Yeah.
satellite. But, I love getting this information out there because people enjoy it and they don't realize that there's actually such a big group study. I mean, this is not something that just happens here, although I think we're more into the actual research side of things. But I've gotten people from Paris who are like, you should come and investigate with us. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm coming there this week. But maybe. This stuff is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
How often, because you're part of the Academie, how do you say that?
Academie de Ufologie in
Thank
France.
You. Yes, and you've been part of that for quite some time. How did you get involved with them, and what's the difference between something here and we got 6 minutes? So,
well, actually, I was invited to join, and that was 2010, I think, 11. I got this email in French, and I'm like, I think this is a mistake. And so I had somebody decipher it, and I sent a reply back, and I said, English, please, in English, and they sent it back in English. And it was just basically they liked what I was doing, how I was doing it, and that I was being frank about things, and they asked me if I would consider becoming a member. And I didn't know what that entailed, so I just said, yeah, okay, whatever. And a couple days later, after they had I guess they go through a committee, some kind of admissions committee, and they had a vote, and they took me in. And there I am.
I think that's pretty awesome.
And they send their stuff. I mean, I get cases. They send their little conferences they hold and stuff. So I get all that paperwork and stuff. And a lot of it's interesting. I mean, it's not something like when French came out with the Kamata files. I mean, they sent me the whole file.
Oh my!
I'm like wow.
Total wow! Now, how cool is that?
It's like thousands of pages. I'm like, I got this PDF that's taken forever to download, and then when I opened it up, I went like, wow, this is pretty cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and they're really nice people. I mean, they really are.
Are they all as serious as you?
They're probably a lot more serious than me. I clown around sometimes. I don't think they have any sense of humor.
Well, they must be engineers. No, I'm kidding, because I've already commented that engineers have wicked funny senses of humors. But what do you think is the big unifying factor? What do you think is going to be what brings people humans as a species, what is going to make people say, okay, well, you know what? This is obviously true. Do you think there's going to be an aha moment as a collective, or do you think it's just going to be a bunch of individuals going, I just experienced this like it is now?
I think the latter. The aha moments are pretty well guarded. They either come out by mistake or on purpose, and a little explanation of that is, like, if they want you to know something, they'll put it out. Now, whether it's fact or not, that's another story. So, and the aha moments are where, you have an individual that works for somebody in one of our alphabet groups that says something either out of line or when he shouldn't say it. And it's all going to come down, Kat, to doing your due diligence, doing it properly, documenting everything, chain of command with your evidence, real evidence, not just a story. And it doesn't matter how big it is. I mean, it can be a DNA sample. It can be hair. It can be scat, in the cryptozoology world. Footprints, anybody can make the footprints. You can buy them online on eBay for nothing. With the bipedals, the only thing we're going to ever get on bipedals is if we get them on a FLIR device where we have them captured with a FLIR, because nothing hides from a FLIR.
That's what I was going to say. I think a FLIR is going to be the tool. Yeah,
well, for us it is. I mean, we have 2 FLIRs from FLIR in the truck. No, 3. We have 3 FLIRs, 2 night vision, and then we have a portable that I carry on my backpack, FLIR. But the evidence, when it comes out, just like I know, no matter how good it is, you're going to have the old timers going like, that's not true. That's made up. That's this.
Yeah.
But they're not demeaning you. They're just trying to protect their butt, because they've said otherwise over time. And, some of these people have this godlike thinking about themselves where, if I say it, it's got to be true. And
surely
I've gotten into trouble more than once by when somebody says, I know all about this. This is a fact, and I know it's a fact. And, me with my big mouth, I'm going like, you don't know squat.